Tomorrow in England, for many of our schools, as many as 90%, I understand, of primary schools will, in some form, be opening tomorrow. Although, of course, many of them have been open for the children of key critical workers. Anyway, but it's still quite a big move, and we have in the past seen, the Head Teachers Union and others saying they were very worried whether this was the wise thing to do. We've even seen some local councils very, very concerned. Well, let's get a view on this. Let's go to Jeff Barton, General Secretary of the Association of School and College Leaders. Jeff, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So it is quite a big day tomorrow, isn't it?
It is, and it's one which is, I think, characterised by some trepidation for all kinds of reasons that you've just mentioned. But also, it's a weekend when we're hearing scientists themselves apparently at odds in terms of whether this is the appropriate time. I think no one disputes that we have to open our schools at some point, even more widely, but whether this is the time. And of course, that's going to create anxiety not just for the teaching profession, but also for parents who have to make the decision about whether it's right for their reception, their year 1, their year 6 children to go back from tomorrow.
Yes, and presumably there'll be no punishments for parents that don't send their children tomorrow.
That was something that the government said pretty early on and pretty sensibly, I think, because the last thing we want is to start sending out, fixed-term notices to parents. And I think what we've seen, even in the most progressive countries like Denmark, is a real cautiousness on behalf of parents. And I think the real proof of this will be as we start to see steps towards some kind of normality, and it's definitely not going to be business as usual yet, but some steps, I think more parents will begin to be reassured that actually, whilst this isn't inevitably about being able to guarantee safety, schools could never do that even in the old days. This is about managing risks and showing that the leaders there, the teachers there, have done all they can to know what the risks are and to manage them appropriately.
And what about secondary schools? What are the prospects for any of those opening?
Well, that's a different matter. So what the government has currently said is from the 15th of June, there will be a cautious, wider opening of secondary. But there's lots of caveats around that, which are important to understand. Because if you think about what's going to happen tomorrow, with some reception and some year 1 and some year 6, so pretty much the youngest children going back, the reason the government has prioritised those is about the science, that you can essentially guarantee that those children will not be mixing more widely in the community because they will be dropped off by their parents. They can stay with one teacher for the day who can take them for lunch and so on. As soon as you get to your GCSE children aged 15 and your A-level children aged 17, those children by definition are more independent. And so the risks with them is that they're on public transport, they're going to the newsagents, they're going to the supermarkets. So with them, what the government said is a maximum of 25% in each of the 2 year groups, year 10 and 12. And that's really not so much for educational reasons. It's in order to try and keep down the risk of those children mixing in the community. And I think, the final decision is still likely to be made a bit nearer the 15th of June, depending on what happens over the next 2 weeks, I suspect.
Well, fingers crossed that tomorrow goes well. Jeff, thank you very much indeed. That was Jeff Barton, General Secretary of the Association of School and College Leaders. So that's the plan for primary schools. Tomorrow, 3-year groups will be going back. As far as secondary education concerned, well, 15th of June, we expect something. We don't yet know quite what. Do you feel it's all too soon for the government to ease the lockdown? Alan in West Hampstead says we were too slow to start the lockdown. I agree with that. And now we're too fast to end it. The government talks about us having common sense. Have they got any common sense? No, Nigel, none whatsoever. None of the relaxation rules will help me. I am blind, live alone, and I need to be guided to go anywhere. As long as there are social distancing measures in place, I'm basically housebound. I make it out into the garden and out of my building sometimes with verbal guidance, but realistically I'm stuck. There doesn't seem to be any help or support for the blind at all. Jürgen, I'm quite shocked by that. I really am quite shocked by that because, remember, 750,000 people volunteered when the government asked for volunteers to help with the NHS, to help getting shopping, to help doing various things. And I would have thought that somebody in Balham who had volunteered to do this and who got a COVID-19 test that came back negative, I thought the scheme was there to help people like you. And I'm disappointed, I have to say, that it's not. Let's go to Sue in Paddington. Sue, good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. In the short to medium-term absence of a vaccine, in my opinion, the government should sort of ramp up antibody testing, which would be a tool to free up a lot of people, because a significant amount of people apparently have had the virus without symptoms. So unless we have antibody testing throughout the population, we will know nothing.
Well, this is another one of Matt Hancock's big promises. He's really good at big promises, but he does say there's going to be 10 million tests available before too long, and there may be some surprising results, Sue. So a friend of mine had the antibodies test last week, and the only symptom that person had was a loss of smell. They hadn't been ill in any way at all, and yet the antibody test comes back and says, yes, they've had it and they've got a high level of antibodies. So there could be a lot of people out there, Sue, couldn't there, who've had it?
Exactly. Well, I declare a self-interest because in early March I had a loss of taste, a cough, so I sort of self-isolated from that day anyway.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting a bit pig sick of it, like most people, and I'm getting fed up with antibody testing being popped in and out of the argument. And I believe, in my limited way, that it is a valuable tool to free people from, from shielding, and the people who can work can go back safely in the knowledge that they won't be infected or will cause effect. We don't actually know, but that's our best guess. So I would be happier if the test and trace scheme was in place, if antibody testing was. I'd be happier if we were properly in control of this. We're not. And therefore, easing lockdown is a risk. And yet, I still think we have to do it, Sue. We do, absolutely. And Nigel, can I thank you for your work in the channel?
Oh, yeah. Well, let me promise you one thing, Sue. That is an issue that is not going to go away. Sue, thank you. Let's go to Barry in Burton-on-Trent, a new caller to this show. Barry, good morning.
Beertown-on-Trent, Nigel.
Beertown-on-Trent. Well, are they still brewing up there?
They are, just about, yes. Carlsberg have taken over Marston's, and we're a bit concerned about that, but hopefully Pedigree will still flow.
Well, I have to tell you, Barry, that one of my local pubs, and they've been doing it for weeks, and I was down there yesterday at 5 o'clock on the dot with my empty milk plastic containers, and they tell me sales are very good. So, yeah, let's think about the brewers of Burton. Now, Barry, are we ending lockdown too quickly?
No, I want us to go back pubs if possible. Right?
Well, no, that's fine. We'll do that a different day, Barry. But although I get all right. Okay, I tell you what, I'll give you a free pass on this. When should the pubs open?
Right, 4 pubs in our parish, all are closed at the moment. Yep. Okay, they're all Marston's pubs. Okay, I don't know what's going on down at Marston's. I can't get any Pedigree in the Co-op. I can't get any Pedigree in Lidl. I'm desperate for some Pedigree. Hopefully they'll send me a carton now. Anyway, what we need is the landlords need to show some enterprise. If the pubs have got a beer garden, if they've got a car park, you just come in, you phone in, you do your order, you get you phone in, you ask what you want, you come in, you get your order, you get a time slot, you pick up, and you pay electronically. I mean, what is the problem? Enterprise. Where's British Enterprise?
Well, Barry, as I say, one of my local pubs is doing this and doing very, very well. I've got another friend of mine who's a publican. In fact, I had him on the show because he won Pub of the Year last year. And he, from the start, has been doing deliveries. Rather like there's a milk round in the morning, he's been doing a beer round in the evening. So there are some that are enterprising. But here's the problem, right? If the government allows the pubs to reopen, it's never going to work with a 2 metre or 6 foot separation zone. They'd need to halve it. And then I think beer gardens, even limited use of the interior of pubs might work. But I can't see it happening, Barry, for some time.
Oh, no, I think it could happen, just spread out. It's about time slots, isn't it? It's about time slots.
Yeah, but also, if you reopen it, okay, if your pub is closed and you reopen it and you turn the electricity back on and you get staff back off furlough, suddenly you're back to the overheads that you had before. If you've only got the ability to get 20% of the customers in, it's not easy, is it?
Oh, yeah, you're not going to have all the staff there. It's going to be on a rota, Nigel, perhaps an hour on, hour off, that sort of thing, okay? Spread it around the staff, get them back into it. They're going to forget what to do with it. If not, how long it's been going on.
Oh, I think the ability to pull a pint won't completely leave us. Barry, when do you think the pub should be able to begin opening?
Schools very quickly.
Very quickly. All right, fine. There was a very good cartoon in the Telegraph yesterday. It was a chap sitting, waiting for the government announcement. And he's saying to himself, please let me go to the pub, please let me go to the pub, please let me go to the pub. And then the announcement is, you're allowed to go visit the mother-in-law. I thought it was very, very good.
We will make America great again.